Is 222 really that mandatory? People are always pushing for it in the preparation time, but pros are not even using that composition anymore, as we can see in the Overwatch League right now. Put aside GOATs, the 3 tanks 3 supports composition that require real cooperation to work out, some less balanced association of heroes can also get the job done fairly well. Just the other day, I was about to start a game on Dorado with 3 DPS, 2 tanks and 1 healer, when our healer asked for another support, as you can see here, and then he immediately switched to Sombra. The duo who locked Hanzo and Genji answered there was no need for it. But even though our friend was still insisting for 2 healers, we started the match with an unrealistic 4-2-0, and obviously we had the ideal mindset, talking about throwing and all. The funny thing is, even though we started a game with 4 DPS and upset players, we steamrolled the enemy, took the 3 points, and after switching to a 2-2-2, we won the game, as you will see. So is 2-2-2 still a thing? Should we try to force it no matter what? Or should we be more open to other team compositions? In this video, I will share with you the result of my research on team compositions, and in particular why 2-2-2 has been mandated the best comp in rank, and why, even if you diligently use it, it doesn't always turn out the way it should be. So let's jump into it. Hey guys, my name's Alex and I'm on a Grandmaster journey. Can anyone reach the top tier of Overwatch? The answer in this series, with weekly updates, gameplay reviews and study sessions to follow my baby steps towards Grandmastery. So if you're interested in my progression and in learning with me how to get better at the game along the way, consider subscribing and clicking on that bell icon to make sure to be notified of all my future content. Alright, everyone who played Overwatch more than a couple of minutes has seen or heard people asking for 2-2-2. To make things clear, 2-2-2 stands for 2 damage characters or DPS, 2 tanks and 2 supports in that order, which is on paper the most balanced team composition, and thus the safest one to start with. Which is why players adopted the habit to push for it before each match, and naturally ended up flexing to fit in that comp even if it means playing heroes that they don't know well. But even if it's undeniable that 2-2-2 is the best option for a group of 6 random players who won't cooperate and communicate much, it's also true that a team running 2-2-2 against a different composition will not always win. To further support that assessment, I checked my own games. Out of 89 silver rank games that I recorded this season, 38 of them had one team running 2-2-2 all the way until the end, and the other team fighting with a different team composition either from the start or after the first round. I didn't count the last push bastion change or similar move, and I didn't look into games where none of the teams were consistently running a 2-2-2. Also, just for your information, the number of games with both teams sticking to 2-2-2 were 28 out of 89, so 31% of the games. So even if the data analyzed is too little to make it a rule, it should give us an idea of how good the 2-2-2 composition is compared to others. And with 22 wins and 16 losses, teams running 2-2-2 had a clear advantage to reach victory with 58% chances of winning. But like I said, those numbers are to be taken with a pinch of salt, since so many factors can influence those stats, like my own positive win rate, my ability to flex into each role at a fairly decent level, the rank I am playing at, or simply because the number of games are too little. What I notice is that 2-2-2 have a slight advantage, but it is not overwhelmingly better than any composition. So running a 3-1-2 or 3-2-1 with 3 DPS, or even some weirder comps like 4-0-2, 4-1-1, 1-2-3, 2-1-3, etc. is not that bad. On the contrary, I can't prove it, but I believe that what matters the most is not the composition that you're running, but the player's effectiveness with their characters, at least in lower tiers. Why a well-balanced 2-2-2 would lose against other compositions otherwise? Forced by the general rule of thumb that consider 2-2-2 the best composition in ranks, players tend to flex, or even are forced to flex into roles they don't really know. A lot of games, some players are not playing at their SR level just because they are not playing their best hero, the hero or heroes that allowed them to reach that rank. So, if in a 2-2-2 one of the tanks and one of the healers are DPS mains, and they're not good enough at whatever hero they are playing, then the other team who played 3 DPS or even 4 DPS will most likely win, because 2-2-2 is not by itself a recipe to success. In order to work, 2-2-2 do not need only players who know what they're doing, think about supports that are focusing on killing, and tanks who just stand at the choke point and don't know how to initiate a fight and create space for their teams, but also heroes that synergize with each other and a minimum level of team play. You can't pretend to win easily against 3 DPS if your team is running a 2-2-2 without never grouping up and fighting all over the map. You can't hope to win if on top of not playing side by side, the heroes picked are not working well together, if there are no synergies and no balance in the compositions, having Orisa and Ryan as tanks but no DPS to stand behind them, or a slow DPS with a very mobile team who like to dive, for example. The best team composition depend on a lot of factors, like the map, the mode, if you're attacking or defending, the other team comp, etc. But the most important thing is what the player can really play. So filling in is not always a good idea. And pushing for 2-2-2 is, in my opinion, completely obsolete now. Asking and insisting for it in prep time doesn't achieve anything positive. It might even create tensions in the team. Of course, if you can start with a well-rounded 2-2-2, you'll have more chances to win. But that is if everyone knows and plays their hero well enough, which from my experience doesn't happen all the time. So instead of pushing for 2-2-2, politely asking for specific heroes to complete the composition is a better approach. Instead of saying 2-2-2 or 2-2-2 please, or another tank, etc., why not asking any good Ryan or anyone can play Zarya well, it would work in this comp? I would also personally say things like play whatever you are good at. And 3 DPS is fine as long as everyone is good at what they are doing. Just to make sure that people don't get discouraged from the start because we don't run 2-2-2. Like I said, chances to win with a different composition than 2-2-2 are almost the same in low ranks, so no need to push for it. If you can flex to a character that you know you're good at to fill in order to get 2-2-2, then you should do it. But if you can't, don't force yourself and stick with whatever works best in the current match and who you're efficient with. Eventually, leave just a couple of sentences to apologize for not flexing, saying that you are not good at whatever is needed, and mentioning your hero pool. A bit of positive communication before the match starts also helps setting up a good mindset for the game and increase your chances to win, but that's a topic for another time. And that would be it for today. I'm interested in hearing what is your take on forcing people to fill in a 2-2-2 and what are the situations where running another composition is best. Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave it a like, it helps me know that I'm on the right track with this series. And if you haven't done it already, consider subscribing and hit that bell icon to follow my journey to Grandmastery and be notified of all my new content. And here is the most helpful comment of the last video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember losties, losers are not your mind. Tip of the day. Being able to flex is definitely a huge advantage for you and your team, but be sure to flex to heroes that you can play efficiently. Heroes with whom you perform well. Playing too many different characters is one of the reasons why a lot of low ranks players don't climb the ladder. Try it on and let me know if it works for you.